Right. So, some seismic activity in US politics, and the way it is now, it's sort of like global politics. I remember ages ago on this show predicting, and I'm not unique in this, I think lots of people did, that eventually, the world's richest man and arguably the world's, most powerful man, or certainly one of those with the biggest ego, that they would clash, that they would fall out. But I, I didn't anticipate it would be so spectacular. I'm not going to lie. Josh Wheeler's a PR expert at B Broadcast. He joins us now. Hey, Josh, good morning to you.
Hey, Greg, how are you doing?
I'm all right. It's very hard to assess. Like, I literally have eye strain from switching between Truth Social and X at this point. And, the speed in which the relationship between Donald Trump and Elon Musk has broken down is really quite remarkable. And I think particularly when Elon Musk stated that Donald Trump was on the Epstein in the Epstein files. And also, too, given the fact that we know he knew this as he spent hundreds of millions to get this man elected, it's not quite the flex he thinks it is, I don't think. But, I mean, could you have ever anticipated it could get so messy so soon?
I think the reality is that the short answer is yes. I think a lot of people felt that this was, you said in your intro, that this was always perhaps going to go one way. You're dealing with you encapsulated it perfectly. You're dealing with two mega egos, and in one situation that can be really useful. You kind of need these maverick characters to be driving things forward, and whether you agree or disagree with the political viewpoint, that can be really useful. But two together is they're only ever going to go one way. They're going to smash and they're going to crash at some point. If they can work together, then that's a different thing. But ultimately, as we've seen overnight, this is ultimately it's about ego. But the really grim thing I think is we're seeing right now trade wars raging across the world. We're seeing real wars raging across the world. And you've got two of America's most powerful figures, the world's most powerful figures, spiraling publicly. And I just think if this is the message that America, the free world, is sending out there to difficult characters that we're having to deal with, it just says that there's chaos at the heart of US leadership, and it impacts all of us
Yeah,
wherever
for
we are.
sure. And it impacts Donald Trump's foreign policy because it's such a public humiliation. Very unlike Trump last night at the end of a press conference, he refused questions. And you could see he seemed to have been visibly shook by some of Elon Musk's postings on X. So, I mean, the ramifications for this are huge. It's not just, two fellas falling out, ironically during Pride Month. But anyway, it's not just two fellas falling out, right? It's much greater than that, Josh.
It really is. Trump looks like he's being undermined. Well, it doesn't look like he is being undermined by someone he once celebrated. Musk looks volatile rather than visionary,
Unhinged. Mm.
unhinged. You have social media ablaze with memes, and I think in a weird way, Musk sort of benefits from that,
Mm.
in a sense of he's seen as this now sort of maverick character, whereas for Trump, who has been that maverick character, and to an extent it has been celebrated. This is the second term. Uh, he is almost kind of being buffed, and the conference you talk about where he's not wanting to answer questions, it's because he is knocked and
Mm.
shocked by this. They both want to be the star, and they're both trying to go about it in their way. The big issue is it's the trickle down effect, right? So Tesla overnight has had huge amounts of money wiped from its share price. That's
He
significant.
is definitely going to, in the next short while, have to be jettisoned from X. I don't think he can fight whatever about his role in Doge. I really don't think he can fight this battle with Trump and remain as the head of Tesla or the face of Tesla, because he's already peed off Democrats and people of a certain political leading. He can't also go for the other half of the demographic as well. So I can't see how he can stay on in that role, Josh. and be involved in this public spat with the president of the United States of America. Let's not forget.
It wipes it, the businesses that he runs, in particular Tesla. X is one thing in the sense of, I suppose, if you look at what X has become, what Twitter was, and what X has become, in a way, thinking from a positioning point of view, this is sort of quite a positive place. We're championing free speech, getting the truth out there, all of that kind of stuff. Things that you would perhaps expect from, say, a truth social rather than what Twitter was. In a way, that kind of works. But for Tesla, this is something. I mean, we've seen the sales just fall off a cliff in Europe. We now have we've moved from a position where the president was effectively doing an advert for Tesla outside the White House to, almost kind of mocking Tesla, mocking sales, talking about, how the guy that's leading this didn't get what he wants, so he's throwing his toys out of the pram. I think if I was Tesla, if I were the shareholders at Tesla, and I think this will have been happening for some time, I would be asking some serious questions. But the real challenge for Tesla isn't necessarily Elon. It's what happens next. Because even if you remove Elon, that perception and that mindset is going to be in there. Like, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If you could, would you buy a Tesla?
No, not at this point. I don't think so. I think there are probably other electric cars that are nicer. But I agree with you. But also, Josh, we as the public have short memories, and I think 6 months on post Musk, with sort of with a different direction, perhaps maybe they could recoup some of it. But I think, and we're talking an awful lot about sort of the PR element of it, but politically, I think this is quite seismic because Donald Trump was elected on division. So in other words, he got 50% of the population to think how he thinks. And that meant you hated someone who didn't vote for Trump if you voted for Trump, or vice versa. Now we're seeing a split of the 50. And what people, supporters, your likes of Joe Rogan and others, are going to have to decide is who do they choose? Because Elon Musk is talking about a third party in a particular direction. And he is effectively saying, if you voted for Trump, I've turned my back on him now. Now you have to choose between the two of us. And that's more of a political thing. But I think that is a rebirth of politics. And I think that's how this is going to play out in the next while, because the divide is being split in two now. And I don't know how that goes, or where Democrats go from this. How do you deal with this, though? I mean, how do you even deal with this from a PR perspective? They don't care, do they? Because Elon Musk has his own PR company, right? He's got 220 million people that will make him feel correct. And Donald Trump is shouting into the wind on Truth Social, but he has the media, the mainstream media.
Yeah, I think the point you make about the power of X and the role that Musk has played. We've seen things here in the UK. We've seen things in Germany. We've seen all of this kind of political posturing using predominantly money, and I think that's possibly a big question that we all need to be asking ourselves wherever we are. From a PR perspective, I mean, it's certainly not a client that I'm going to be going after anytime soon. But I think ultimately, if there is any advice, the first thing that anyone needs to be trying to do is to stop fueling the fire and try to regain some kind of control of it fast. Somebody has to be an adult in the room. The crazy thing is we're talking about the president of the United States and the world's richest man.
Even craziest thing is the person that seems to be showing most restraint is Donald Trump. Words I never thought would come out of my mouth.
They're both leading the story, and I think their egos are going to, we're going to keep seeing this sparring match. Spar is probably not even the right word. We've got just battles happening, but they're feeding it. They're not leading it. The smartest move, I think, is to try and literally shift away from conflict and get into containment. If it were me, I'd be trying to get all of their people. I don't think it's a right move at this stage to get them in the room together. But for Trump, I think it almost feels like a strategic reset. You said he put him there. This is a big part of his election. People liked the kind of the sexy, cool, fun aspect, anarchic element of Musk into what is quite boring politics.
Yeah.
But I think Trump, in a bizarre way, now has to try and distance himself from that a little bit. I dare I say, statesman-like esque.
Yeah.
Who knows? But you
The
need
thing
something more
is, and
presidential.
I agree with you, Josh, but the problem is how do you put the Epstein genie back in the bottle? To pull that one out, 3 or 4 tweets into the spat, it's very hard to undo that. Trump very easily could reconcile, but Elon Musk went all in. He used his Trump card right at the very beginning, and I don't know why he might, but he's going to find himself. It's very hard to walk that back, isn't it?
No, it is. It is very hard to walk that back, and I think again you are dealing with um, people that are people's egos that are being rocked and shocked. We
Okay.
saw. I don't know if you saw the conference. I thought it was incredibly interesting. A journalist asked Trump a few days ago. This is how seismic everything is. A few days ago about the phrase taco,
He
about
didn't
him
like
kind of
that.
turning away on policy, and his response was he was hurt.
Oh yeah.
He was hurt by this, and
Okay.
that proves how kind of ridiculous things are. I think when you think about the Epstein situation, there's kind of two things at play. One, Trump is going to obviously be personally affected by that. His own personal brand is affected by that. But on top of that, there is the notion and the move, and I think Musk even hinted at this. You know, the Democrats will seek to kind of move towards things like impeachment, perhaps. The interesting thing is,
Mm.
I think, the when you try to take a step back out of the politics and the sort of the reality TV esque nonsense of this, is if you take a look at social media and you take a look at these kind of exposés, when I woke up this morning and saw those tweets, I've seen those tweets before, and I feel like a lot of people have seen those tweets before. There is this new difference of this feeling like a new thing, but
Mm.
actually on social
That's
media,
yeah,
this has been there an awful lot,
exactly.
as well as Musk having replies with him and Ghislaine Maxwell together.
Exactly.
So
But
it's
also, too,
the
Josh,
whole thing.
I must go, but also what's interesting is in talking about PR, I think Elon Musk brought up that to sort of tap into the 4chan, Pizzagate, Trump stuff. He knew what he was doing. All right,
Yes.
brilliant stuff. Thanks so much for your time. Josh Wheeler, PR expert with that B broadcast.
Today's 9 till noon show is brought to you by Atlantic Travel in Letterkenny. From radio waves to ocean waves, Atlantic Travel